Welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast with artist, author, and creative business consultant, Bruce Outridge. Let's get started making money with your unique talent. On with the show.
Hello, welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast. I'm your host, Bruce Outridge. This is episode number 237, and this is the book club episode, of course, because it's our first episode of the month, and we're going to talk about what we read last month and what we got coming up this month. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back. Hey folks, I got a book that I think you're going to love. It's called You're Not Done Yet. This is a book that I released in March 2020 and is a book that helps you figure out where you're going in life and figuring out some of the talents you got. Are you wondering what your purpose is for life? Are you wondering how to live your life to the fullest? Are you thinking that education is holding you back? Or maybe you just need to help focus your life with some of the values you've got. Why not merge your talent and your skills and make yourself an awesome life? I talk all about that in You're Not Done Yet. This is a book that is a real easy read. You can find it on Amazon, or you can go to you'renotdoneyet.ca. Enjoy the book, and I hope that it helps you to focus your life. All right, as you know, our first episode of the month is based on our book club, and we started this in 2021. Probably more for me than for anybody else, but I want to try and read a book a month, and I enjoyed doing that before, but with podcasting and other information, you don't always get a chance to do that. So that is our goal for 2021. We started in January with The Art of War. In February, I asked you to pick a biography of somebody that you wanted to read. My biography, the one I chose, was of Rod Stewart. Now, there's a couple of reasons I chose this book. One, it was given to me as a gift from a friend, and I hadn't had a chance to get into it. The other one is that it's really signed by Rod Stewart, which is really cool. And third, I'm a Rod Stewart fan, and I'm always interested to find out about people that I consider, I don't know if it's my idol necessarily, but people that inspire me. And what I was hoping to get out of this book, because of course, Rod Stewart is a big rock star, and you can find out all about his life, and you've probably seen it. I've been to his concerts. I've watched him since the 70s, growing up as a rocking teenager. So I'm not sure what I was hoping to get out of this book other than to finish the book. So I finished the book. So I hit goal number 1, which was really cool. But then the second goal, the second thing that I really found out about it, which was really good. One, he was a womanizer. I think that's not secret to anybody. He's had more model relationships, he's been married a few times, but he's gone out with a lot of, and he wouldn't stick around. Faithfulness is not one of his strong points. So I found from a standpoint of a biography, it's kind of cool. Not being unfaithful is kind of cool, but it's kind of cool that, you see all these people who are really successful, but then there's another side that's not successful. And a lot of times that goes with all of us creative entrepreneurs. We might be successful in business, personal lives are kind of shattered. Some people have both. Hey, kudos to you if you can make that happen. I think we can all work on one side. I know for me, I'm stronger on the business side than I am on the family side, even though I try, but I'm not sure how successful I am. But it was fun to learn about his growing up in England, and that he had the same challenges that the rest of us have, getting your name out there and going through people thinking. I didn't realize he was a beatnik in his early days. That was before the Rod Stewart days, but he started off as a beatnik who wouldn't shower for a week and hung out with people in the park and almost like he was homeless. And then one day, I don't know what it was. He was drunk. He used to, have some pretty good drinks, and he would just, he just decided to change, and he went totally the opposite way. I don't know if it was something that his parents said. His father had a small business, and they were very much into soccer, football as they call it over there, but soccer. And he was, his dad was a big fan of the Scottish team, which is kind of how he got there. Because a lot of us think that, oh, Rod Stewart's Scottish. Well, he's not Scottish. He's from England, but he voted for the Scottish team a lot. So that was what he did. It was, excuse me, it was interesting to find out in his life the way that he went through his music career. He had a couple lucky breaks, but a lot of it was just hanging around and being in the right place at the right time. And I found that to be very interesting because a lot of us think, oh, you know, these guys, they just float along and somebody hears their music. And no, there was a lot of nights of him standing in the back of the bar and hoping somebody might, you know, kind of let him sing, and he didn't remember the songs, and he was terrible at writing songs. He, you know, the ones he wrote were very successful, but he really struggled with that. You know, we think that, oh yeah, he's got, you know, how many million albums, and he, you know, wasn't able to, but he didn't like to write at all. Like he would write while he's like on the bus into the studio, those kind of things. You know, we think of him as kind of the party animal, and that he was, I think, but he wasn't so much into drugs as most people think. Certainly not as some of his other stars. He talks about it that it was just kind of a thing to get him going, but he was lucky in that he didn't get down that track to where, you know, so dependent on drugs that he couldn't do anything else. He enjoyed nice clothes. He's an art collector. You know, he's always done pretty well, but he loves the road, and he still loves the road to this day. And it was nice to see, you know, when his songs came along, his friendships, people like Elton John, and, you know, we think of the Beatles, but to him it's just Ringo who's down the street. And, you know, a lot of the stars he talks about were just friends, you know. Mick Jagger and the Stones were just, they kind of hung out at the same bar, you know. They kind of took off before him. He was lucky he came to the U.S. a couple times and then ended up moving there, and that caused him a lot of grief as well. So it was interesting to find out some of those things and how it affected him. I don't know if you knew he's a model. He doesn't like model railroader or whatever, but he likes to build model trains, and he carries on tour 3 suitcases just of model train parts and stuff for when he's down, that he can put things together. He's got I remember seeing this on one of the documentaries on him, that he had a whole floor that was done up, and he's done all the cities, like he's really into that. But he's been into that since he was a kid. He had one that went around his bedroom. He had kind of a rail that would go around the bedroom, and he was loving it. So he's always been into trains. We often think that, you know, when you're successful, you kind of get into that, you know, when you've got money, you start getting into these things just because you can. But a lot of the stuff that he's done is from being in his childhood. And one of my favorite albums of him is one of his standard albums. And I don't know if you know those. Those are the Frank Sinatra songs, and a lot of songs from the earlier days. And he's always wanted to do that, and nobody would cut it. Nobody said, "Hey, that's not your style. You know, you're not going to be successful if you do it." And so he didn't do it for a long time. He kind of put it on the back shelf, and finally got to a point in his career where he says, I'm going to do this. And he found the right person, and he got turned down quite a few times from some of the big studios. And then finally, someone took it. Since then, it's won awards. It's one of my favorites. I love the standards, and I love the way he does it. He's got a nice voice that goes well with it. You know, you can hear the standards from a lot of people, but he really has a nice way of doing it. So I found that fascinating. I really enjoyed the book. I found that the book, though, ended much like his concert. And we went to see his concert, and when he was done singing, he kind of just went off stage, and that was it. And I always thought, that's kind of weird. Like, he didn't say, you know, goodbye or anything. We may have just missed it, but it seemed like it was kind of just, you know, the concert was really good, and then it just ended, and that was it. Like, everybody go home. And I found his book was the same. His last chapter, his last page, I thought, you know, he could have ended it a little better, you know, kind of leaving us a little more. But basically, he just ended it like, okay, see ya. So yeah, he didn't even really do much. I'll read you his last paragraph here. It says, of course the album will come out. So he's talking about, you know, what's going to happen in the future. And he says, of course the album will come out, and then we'll see. But whatever comes of those recordings, hit or miss, is irrelevant, really. Beside what I understand to be true moral of this episode, which is that sometimes when you think you've finished, it turns out that you haven't. Mind you, I'd be absolutely gutted if the album is anything less than an international sensation. So he always wanted to be the best. He wanted to be noticed. He wanted to be on stage. And that's how he ended it. So, like, he's still talking about yet no kind of reference back to his life and, hey, this has been a good time or something. He loves being on stage. He wants to keep going as long as he can. And that is going to be something I guess we'll have to see. But he certainly has a long list of records that have been put out, and I've always loved his voice. I've been following him since I was a teenager, so it was good to do that. It was good to finally get that one done again because it was a gift. It was really good to see it. It's 374 pages, so I started early. I was kind of nervous around the middle of the month that I might not get it done, but I was able to get it done. So I hope that whatever biography that you, or autobiography, because this is an autobiography, and he says on the back here, he says, bugger me if I wasn't going to have some fun and worry about forgiving myself for it later, if ever. Well, he's the first to admit, and he's been married. He's got something like 7 kids now, and, a couple grandkids, and he's got his own football field, as he calls it, or soccer field in his place, and that's his big thing. But as he gets older, he says, I won't be able to do that anymore. So anyway, he's had a good life, and he's enjoyed it. He knows that he's got some work to do when it comes to relationships, but you know what? You can't have everything in life, I guess. So hey, so that's my Rod Stewart. I hope you enjoyed your biography, whichever one you chose, and I hope you got a couple lessons out of that. For me, probably the biggest lesson is, you know what? We are all the same, and it's a lot of hard work behind the scenes. Sure, he's had a lot of fun and stuff, but there's been a lot of hard work behind the scenes. He's got some great stories in here about him and Elton John, who are good friends, and him and Paul McCartney, and him and Mick Jagger, and of course his best friend is Ronnie Wood from the Stones, and so there's some fun stuff going on there. And I often would see his concerts on the Standards album, and he would be talking about Ronnie Wood, or Ronnie would be on there, and you wonder, why is he on there? Aren't they kind of competitors? But they were actually best of friends long before either of them hit big success. And some of the antics they used to do on the road, it's really, he likes to pull pranks. That seems to be a way of doing it. So anyway, that's my take. I enjoyed the Rod Stewart biography. That was my book for February. Stay tuned, and when we come back, I'll tell you about what I'm reading in March. Enjoy. Hey folks, are you ready to get started as an artist? Are you looking for a book to help you? Hey, whether you want to start your business out of the gate on a part-time basis, or you want to go full-time and jump right in, this book will help you. This is a book called How to Start an Artistic Business in 12 Easy Steps. And you know what? It's free. That's the cool thing about it, that you can get it free at cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com. All you have to do is go there, sign up, and you'll get a PDF download that is set up like a workbook so that you can work one day at a time, 1 week at a time, 1 month at a time, or you can do it all at the same time. Whatever works for you. This book will work for artists, authors, anybody that's a creative that is looking to use their talent to start a business or career. This is the perfect book for you. It tells you all the things you need. And I wrote it many years ago, but it still works today. So where can you get it? Go to cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com. Enjoy. All right. So what are we going to read for March? So I have decided to choose a book which I've had, and I actually started it. I got about 50 pages in and then stopped. So I'm going to have to start again because I don't remember what was on those 50 pages. What I do remember is this is somebody that came to one of our meetings. I'm part of CAPS, which is the Canadian Association of Professional Speakers. And this is one of those, we get a lot of speakers that come in on a monthly basis to our meetings. This one was a book. She was talking about being good enough. Now, as you know, this is one of the things that I struggle with a lot. Being good enough. Even though I've got a lot of success, I still have a lot of, well, some people would say growing up to do, but I prefer to say that I just need more work. Anyway, so that is, I'm going to read a book by Jessica Pettitt, and she was a really good speaker when she came in. I really enjoy it. It's called Good Enough Now, and how doing the best we can with what we have is better than nothing. And this is so true. Doing the best we can with what we have is better than nothing. Some people think, and I'm one that tries to get the best of everything all the time, But there's a lot of times when just do what you can with what you have. A lot of people wait until they have the perfect thing. They have the perfect technology, or they have the perfect car, or they have the perfect something else. And you know what? Just work with what you've got. Try to do the best with what you've got. And, you know, it's like, have you ever seen in the arts world, they say this a lot. They'll say, you know, someone will say, well, can you draw something? And you say, well, I can't draw anything because I don't have my pencils or my pens with me. And I've had people say, well, a good artist will be able to draw with anything they're giving, even if it's a stick and a piece of charcoal. So, you know, and it's true. Even if I give you a crayon, you should be able to draw something if that's what your medium is. So yeah, sure. We would all like to have our perfect tools, or we like to have the best tools or whatever, but it's okay to be good enough now. And I think this is something I know I need to work on, because I'm always looking at people ahead of me and going, how am I going to make myself better that way? And doing all those kind of things. So this is the book that I've chosen. It's called Good Enough Now by Jessica Pettitt. And I'll tell you what it says on the back here. Let yourself be good enough now. Sitting around pointing fingers and waiting for change to appear on the horizon. Has it ever worked for you? Do you feel imbalance between who you are and who you think you should be? Do you see fulfillment, better relationships, stronger teamwork as something to work for, but not possible now? So, you know, if you're sitting around waiting for the perfect life to happen, the perfect moment to happen, it's not going to happen. And so in her breakthrough message, author and speaker Jessica Pettitt reveals the truth about how we can be the best versions of ourselves now. By being our authentic selves, we can immediately improve our companies, relationships, and communities. Good Enough Now is an innovative and practical guide to ridding yourself of self-doubt, self-limiting beliefs, and habitual excuses through being true to yourself, building on your strengths, supporting others in their strengths, building better teams, and serving others. Read this revolutionary book and discover that you already have what is necessary to begin shifting the paradigm. Jessica Pettitt, MED, CSP, pulls together her stand-up comedy years with over 15 years of diversity training in a wide range of organizations to help groups move forward from abstract fears to actionable habits, leading to teams that want to work together. She believes that colleagues with a sense of belonging and understanding take more risks with their ideation, convert precious resources through collaboration, and maintain real connections with clients over time. So you can find out more about this. I'll put the link in the show notes. It's called goodenoughnow.com is where you can go. Really enjoyed the presentation. I'm going to have to look at my notes because I took a whole bunch of notes at her presentation. But started the book and then, I don't know, got sidetracked or something like that. So decided that I didn't make it to chapter 2, but I'm looking forward to doing it again. It's another book. It's about 250 pages long. So we'll see how I go. We'll get started on that. March is a long month, so I should be able to make it through. And again, I'm not a fast reader. I've been reading kind of like a chapter a day, 10 pages a day, something like that, you know, depending on some days I have to do writing, so I don't get a chance to reading. So I wasn't reading every day, but I have found it's been a pretty comfortable thing, and I have enjoyed getting back into reading again. And that's, of course, when you're reading, you retain a lot of information better, and hopefully that springs more creativity out of your brain for the future. So that's what we're gonna read. It's called Good Enough Now by Jessica Pettitt. If you want to read along, I will put it in the show notes so you can get it. I'm sure it's available on iPad or Kindle or whatever. I've got a paperback here because I bought her book when she presented. So I'm going to read that. Hey, you don't have to read that, but read something that's going to help you be better at what you do. So if you want to read a book, read something that's going to be better so that you can do that and be good. So anyway, that's what we're reading this month. Hope you enjoy it and stick around. We've got lots of great inspirational interviews coming up and a lot of business tips to help you. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast. All right, I hope you enjoyed that episode. Hey, make sure you join us. Hey, feel free to leave us comments about the books you're reading if you're not reading the same thing, or what you thought of the one we're reading if you are reading it. Book clubs are kind of things that you can learn a lot from other people's comments and other people's take on it and opinions. So that's what it's for. If you read an interesting biography for February, let me know what it is. Maybe it's one I'm going to put on the list. Thanks very much for listening to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn, and make sure you subscribe to the show. You wouldn't want to miss one. It comes out new episodes every Thursday, but if I were you, I'd go back and look at some of the older episodes because there's a lot of inspiring stuff coming up. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
Need to know more about your host or the show? Check out your host at bruceoutridge.com and learn more about the show at cashinginoncreativitypodcast.com.